Some weapons are built for war, others become legends. The Colt M1911 wasn't just a pistol, it was a battlefield icon, forged from hard lessons and trusted across two world wars, the Korea War and the Vietnam War. At the dawn of the 20th century, the US Army was reeling from a harsh reality. During the brutal guerrilla fighting of the Philippine-American War, American troops were often outgunned. Their .38 caliber revolvers, standard at the time, simply lacked the power to stop determined Moro warriors, who could charge through multiple wounds. Soldiers needed a sidearm, with real stopping power. Enter John Moses Browning. Browning was already a prolific firearms designer. And his answer to the Army's problem was both simple and brilliant, a semi-automatic pistol, chambered in a brand new, heavy-hitting cartridge, the .45 ACP. It was designed to put a man down with one shot and keep going under the worst conditions imaginable. To prove its worth, the pistol was subjected to one of the most brutal trials in military history. In 1910, the US Army fired over 6,000 rounds through a single test model. It was dunked in water, buried in sand, and still came back firing. While other designs jammed, cracked, or seized, the Colt ran smoothly to the end. On March 29, 1911, the Army officially adopted the pistol as the Model 1911. And thus, begun the reign of one of the most iconic sidearms ever fielded. World War I was its first trial by fire. Doughboys carried the 1911 into the trenches of Europe, where it gained a reputation for reliability and raw power. Its distinctive, heavy frame and .45 caliber punch gave troops the edge in close-quarters combat. One of the most legendary stories involves Sergeant Alvin York. During a fierce engagement in France, York found himself surrounded. Out of rifle ammo, he drew his Colt 1911 and, according to witness accounts, stopped 6 German soldiers charging with bayonets. One shot each, it became part of the pistol's legend. Mechanically, the M1911 was genius in its simplicity. A single action trigger, a short recoil operating system, and a detachable, 7-round magazine made it easy to learn, easy to clean, and deadly in trained hands. The thumb safety and grip safety were cleverly designed to ensure it wouldn't fire unless it was being held properly. By World War II, it had become standard issue across all US branches. It served in the hands of Marines storming Pacific beaches, paratroopers dropping into Normandy, and tank crews in North Africa. It was a pistol that worked when you needed it most. Troops trusted it, armorers respected it, and enemies feared it. But time doesn't stop, and even legends can be challenged. By the late 1970s, the battlefield had changed, and the Colt 1911 was beginning to show its age. The first issue was capacity. While the 1911 packed a powerful .45 ACP punch, it only carried 7 rounds in the magazine. In an era of increasing firepower and urban combat, more bullets often meant more survivability. European pistols like the Beretta 92 and SIG P226 could carry 15 or more rounds in a slimmer, lighter frame. Then came NATO standardization. The alliance agreed on the 9mm Parabellum round for logistical efficiency. The 1911's .45 caliber wasn't compatible with most NATO sidearms, making supply chains more complex. The 9mm was smaller, faster, and easier to carry in bulk. There were other problems too. For conscripts and less trained troops, it could feel unforgiving. So, after a series of evaluations and tests, the US military selected a new sidearm. In 1985, the Beretta M9 officially replaced the Colt 1911. It held 15 rounds of 9mm, was easier to train with, and met NATO standards. For many, it felt like the end of an era. But the 1911 never truly faded away. Elite units in the Marines, Navy SEALs, and Army Special Forces kept using custom-built 1911s long after the General Forces transitioned to the M9. Why? Because when tuned and handled by experts, the 1911 was still unmatched in precision, stopping power, and reliability. And outside the military, the pistol's legacy only grew. It became a favorite in competitive shooting circles. Law enforcement SWAT teams used updated models. Gun collectors prized original service models. And for civilians, the 1911 offered a powerful, time-tested self-defense option that had proven itself across wars. In time, the 1911 entered a second golden age. Modern companies began producing upgraded versions, new metals, match-grade barrels, optics-ready slides, and even high-capacity variants. Brands like Springfield Armory, Kimber, Wilson Combat, and Nighthawk Custom built on Browning's original masterpiece with 21st-century innovations. And so, over 110 years later, the 1911 is still being made. Still being carried. Still being respected. It may no longer be the standard-issue pistol for America's armed forces, but in the minds of many, it's still the king of sidearms. The Colt M1911 wasn't just a tool of war. It was a trusted companion, a battle-tested warrior, and a symbol of American steel and power.